Hello and welcome to the AV Forums podcast, streaming live on Wednesday, the 26th of May, 2021. And joining me on this edition, Ed Selley.
It's not hip hop, it's electro.
Steve Withers.
Okay, but dogs can look up.
And Kaz Harlow.
It's not that I don't like Ed. Ed, it's not that I don't like you.
Okay.
That's more of a visual gag, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to make it one because Ed's on the podcast.
Yeah, welcome back to the podcast. We're here yet again on another Wednesday, although we get next Wednesday off.
Dude.
It's the end of the month.
Not for Kaz, you don't.
So we've got, no, Kaz has to work. But the rest
Kaz
of us
has had a different podcast off, so
Yeah.
it is fair. It'll work.
Yeah, Kaz can take weeks off. He's okay. But we are off next week because it's the movies podcast. It's getting its own week at the beginning of every month. So the first Wednesday of the month will be the movies podcast moving forward from this point. And then the rest of the Wednesdays in the month, it could be 3, it could be 4, will be us on the weekly podcast. So that's starting next week. So the movies podcast next week. And I'm guessing that they're talking about zombies.
Yes, I should have saved the background for that. I'll just keep it running.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a few points to talk about, really. I mean, I think shallow depth of field will certainly be there in a dead pixel.
Dead pixels.
I think it's just going to be dead pixels the entire time. Deep study into dead pixels.
I'll tell you how to get around that one. Watch it on a projector. Didn't notice dead pixels on the projector.
Did you not? Okay.
Well, no, if you think about it, we're talking about individual pixels. When you're projecting onto a screen, you've got 3 aligned chipsets and an acoustic transparent screen. It can hide a multitude of sins.
Yeah,
and it hit that one.
Yeah. Well, not everybody's got you kind of set up, Steve. So dead pixels was an issue for quite a few people.
I imagine people who own OLEDs probably
it set the internet alight, basically. So it's been over discussed, and obviously they'll over discuss it again next Monday.
Excellent.
Next Wednesday. Get my days right. Right, so what's everybody been up to then? Kaz, what have you been doing apart from watching films and writing about films and watching TV programs? And
pretty much it. I mean, we're trying to book a holiday, maybe, but that's kind of all up in the air.
A UK vacation.
Yes. I'm not really very keen on hopping on a plane right now. If for no other reason that I've had both jabs, so I should be okay, but I don't really fancy wearing a mask for that long.
That's the thing that puts me off. I mean, obviously I've double jabbed as well, but so I thought sitting with a mask on for that.
Yeah, I feel sorry for people who obviously have to wear them all day long. I'm not belittling the fact that there are people out there who have stronger stamina in that respect, but I can't stand it for more than the 20 minutes it takes to pick up the kids or pop into a shop or something. The idea of wearing it for 4 or 5 hours is just it's being uncomfortable. It's not that you can't breathe or anything like that.
Get yourself a nice full mask respirator.
Yeah.
Yes, full helmet.
It's really good for your passport photos as well, I find. So,
but in the meantime, we're trying to book Legoland, and that's the way of the future. It was my son's birthday recently.
Presumably.
Yes. Son's birthday recently. He got so much Lego. He got a Spider-Man Dodge Challenger, the Dukes of Hazzard style.
Yeah.
Dodge.
It's a Charger.
Sorry, Kaz.
Is it the Charger? It's the one with the bumper bonnets.
If it's a Dukes of Hazzard, it's a Charger.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Even I know that.
Okay.
It's a common mistake.
It's the one that Ghost Rider has. But
there's a Challenger in Vanishing Point.
It's not that.
Vanishing Point, and it's a Ford Torino, isn't it? A Ford Torino or Gran Torino? What's the car that Starsky or Hutch drives?
It's a Ford Gran Torino.
Gran Torino.
It's the one that chased Steve McQueen's bullet car Mustang.
That's a Charger.
Yeah. So okay, there you go, Charger.
Charger.
He got one of them. And
what do you mean? What do you mean bullet car? You mean the Mustang? It's the most famous screen car of all time.
I don't know. I think the Goldfinger Aston Martin probably disagrees with that assessment.
Until they took Steve McQueen and stuck him in a Ford Puma in that advert.
Yeah, that was a shame.
Immortal.
I remember that one. That was disgusting.
And the underwater Lotus has got a lot of attention.
Well, for me, if you're talking movie cars, it has to be the DeLorean. Back to the Future.
DeLorean 2, yeah. That's
Instantly recognisable. Right,
Anyway.
so
We
that's
digress anyway.
that's what Kaz has been up
Or
to.
Herbie the Love Bug.
Yeah. Okay. Steve, what have you been up to?
People,
What have you been looking at? What have you been playing with this week?
What have I been doing? Oh, well, we're going to talk about it in a minute. So I don't want to, I don't want to spoil things. Otherwise, watching. Well, I watched Shaun of the Dead. I watched Army of the Dead.
You're not allowed to talk about it. There's a whole podcast dedicated to it. You can join us if you want to, Steve.
No, that's fine.
I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Quite enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. More than watching the film, what I really enjoyed was reading the thread to your review. because it was like moan, and I'm thinking, what did you expect from a Zack Snyder zombie flick set in Las Vegas?
Oh, I don't know.
It delivered exactly what I thought we were going to get.
I think it could have had more than that in a Zack Snyder flick. I feel like typical for. You know what? We're not talking about it.
No, talking about it. I reeled you in there.
No, yeah, you did. We're not talking about it. Dead pixels.
Did you? I haven't seen the film, but I watched Red Letter Media because I knew I wasn't really going to watch the film, and it was absolutely brilliant. Their assessment of it. Yeah,
there is a screen rant. What is it? Not screen rant. The pitch meetings, which I quite like. I think Garrett posted it on the.
Those pitch meetings are on Screen Rant.
Okay, pitch meeting screen. Anyway, the guy talking to himself, I mean, he's absolutely hilarious. The one he does for Army of the Dead nails just about everything absurd about it. And I get it, Zack Snyder, but if you watch that, it's like, yeah, there's no explanation for the things that are brought up in that. And personally, I think even Snyder could have done better with a remake of Aliens with zombies.
I've got, speaking of Snyder, I also got Justice League.
Very nice.
Did you get it?
Yeah.
You've reviewed it, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't normally get the disc for that. Yeah. You liked it?
I don't know. It's 4 hours long. I need to put aside some time for that.
Yeah.
I don't have 4 hours right now. I'm quite busy.
I think it's a very nice disc, and it was nice going back to it because I only had it. I think I hadn't even got the 1080p at the time when I watched it on Now. Actually, tell a lie. I got that from Warner on PR, and they, bless them for sending me a screener, but it was not anything approaching visual quality that you would talk about in AV company. It's a pretty.
They send you a DVD.
No, they just sent me a screening link, but they're normally sub Now TV quality with your name.
It's normally on Vimeo, isn't it?
Yeah,
screener links.
Yeah, and it's got my name plastered all over it. Thankfully, I always tell them my name's Kaz, because if I gave them my full name, it would just be so much worse.
Go and see the film.
I used to live with someone that used to get Warner Brothers test DVDs. As part of the marketing job that she did. And my favourite one of those was one that was clearly labelled as Short Circuit, but was in fact Cactus Jack, which was always a pleasant surprise. So,
So that's what Steve's been up to.
Not much, to be honest.
No. Right, so what I've been up to. Well, you see that teeny weeny TV in the background? That's a 50-inch TV, and it's tiny.
Micro.
It turned up because I'm so used
to
it
up, Phil. I can't pick up that 75-inch Samsung. I mean, I literally can't move it.
At 65 inches, I can manage a 65-incher.
Out of context, that sounds very
out of context, that's heroic.
I have to handle it in a certain way.
Big bowler wrong.
And I have to bend it over in a certain way.
Do you have to do your stretches first?
Oh, you're still talking about the TV?
Yeah. So I can get the stand on and so on. But yeah, 65 is about as much as I can lift on my own. But yeah, when this 50-inch turned up, it was like a 32-inch suit. I'm so used to big screens now that it's so light. It is a bit plasticky. So it's a Hisense A7GQ. It's their mid-range TV, so it's it's not metal in any way. There's no metal in the chassis.
It's not metal as in, you know, really hardcore music or.
No, and it's and construction wise, the build quality is definitely budget build quality. So it is a bit plasticky. The stand's a bit plasticky. So, but then coming from TVs that are costing £2,500, £3,000 to something that's like 500 odd quid, 600 quid.
£2,500, £3,000. Not even close.
Yeah, we'll come on to
one
that. Yeah, we'll come on to that in a second because it is a bit of a strange one. But anyway,
spendy boy.
That's a Hisense. I'll have that finished this week. In fact, I'm going to get it filmed and stuff because I've also got, if you can see to the left hand side of that, is an OLED TV. That's the C1, and then out in the hallway is the G1, both 55-inch screens. So I'll be doing side-by-side testing of those. And I mean actual side-by-side testing just to see what's what with them, because there's lots of rumors and things going on at the minute. You know, is the G1, does the C1 have the G1 panel? Can you go in the service menu and switch it to a G1 in the service? No, you could, but it's probably not going to work as some people on the internet are suggesting.
Definitely going to invalidate your warranty.
Yes, well, LG have said, you know, if you do that, that will invalidate your warranty if you're going to do stuff like that. So, yeah, there's lots of stuff at the minute. So I think it's worthy of an article on its own where actually sit and test them side by side and actually see what the differences are. Because if you're looking at measurements, there's very slight differences, but then you're talking about the end of things where your eyes are just not going to see the differences. The meter can see the differences, your eye ain't going to see it. I'm going to put that to the test. So I've got those in. I've got the Hisense in. And at the weekend, I had to take my beautifully arranged rack to pieces.
Oh, I'm impressed it lasted as long as it did. In fact.
And put the JBL in. But I designed it in such a way when I redid it that it worked really quite well. So just a swift taking out of the Lingdorf and then putting in the JBL synthesis processor in. So what would normally take me maybe a couple hours to get set up took an hour. So
nice.
Saved myself some time there. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. I haven't watched anything though. I've been watching the same clips over and over again and playing my kit. But yeah, and the C1 review went out today as well, so it's had about 50 replies already. So yeah, and I've realised that I'm going to need a PS5 and an Xbox Series X.
Yeah, good luck
with that.
Yeah. But definitely going to need them because these TVs are getting so complicated now that you really need to be tested.
Well, you can't test things like VRR and 120 hertz 4K gaming without one.
No, I can test 120 hertz, but only at 1080 with the Meridio. And I can do EARC testing. I can do EARC testing through the Meridio as well, but it'd be better just having the console so I can quickly test them and so on. And I might actually start gaming if I.
You say that every generation of consoles.
Yeah,
Phil. I've got to be honest. It never happens.
It lasts about 15 minutes and then I get annoyed because I keep dying.
Yeah,
because I'm shit. Right, Ed, what have you been doing?
I've been ploughing through a variety of stuff. I'd like to apologise. Someone did ask me about this. The Sennheiser IE900, which I talked about last week, and so the review was going up imminently. The following day, I took a series of photographs, and due to a really weird bug in my camera, which only surfaces every 3 years on average, the white balance on the first set of photos was catastrophically wrong. And the slot I had for uploading had to move on to another project, so on and so forth. I have reshot it, and all things going according to plan. These photos are correct now. I have checked the white balance ahead of time. I will try and get that up into the tank so it can go live as soon as possible. So I'd like to apologize for that. Otherwise, I've been reviewing stuff for you guys, for other people. I've been trying to work out how to get a small dent and paint scar in the middle of my car's rear door sorted, and none of the answers are particularly gratifying.
So was it another car door again?
Yeah, it's another car.
It's
a car. It looks like a car door end, and it must have been going at some speed and done some damage to the other door as well. But there's no clue as to where it happened. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's just an object. I'm not going to get het up about it. I just need to know how much it costs to sort.
Well, there's lots of
kill them.
Yeah, well, there's lots of companies now that do smart repairs.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's more a case of knowing how much it is and getting it sorted before. I was about to say before the weather really turns again, but the weather hasn't really stopped unturning yet. But no, that's been on the list of things to do. Otherwise, I actually, do you know what? As I say, it's mainly been centered around testing stuff. I have the luxury, unlike you Phil, with your fixed video sequences. Obviously, I have a slightly wider remit of things I can listen to whilst I've been testing stuff. So I've been ploughing through lots of material, so on and so forth. That's been good. And also, for whatever reason, I haven't been sleeping. So that doesn't happen to me very often. But yeah, for whatever reason, I've decided to go light on sleeping for the last couple of days, which is very annoying. But no, otherwise,
I have the opposite problem. Staying awake while watching TV in bed's becoming problematic.
Well, do you know what? At the moment, I was
I'll
about to say
my cup of hot milk, and then I'm out like a light.
I was about to say I'd like to swap, but no. Do you know what? I have no problem with your life, Steve. I just don't want to live it. So we'll see how we go from there. I'm assuming that if I just drink enough wine, it will sort itself out eventually. So we'll take it from there. But no, that's what I've been doing. So yes, not terribly exciting, but that's my life in a nutshell.
Yeah, I'm frustrated when you're talking about cars, Ed, because mine still hasn't
Yes, well,
up.
It's
still sitting in Liverpool. It's probably without its wheels now.
I don't know. They'd have to get on the boat, surely. Or
no, it's off the boat. It's onto the docks and then into a compound, and it's just.
Oh well, yes. I'm afraid in that case, it's now down to its component parts.
So compound. You make it sound like it's some sort of,
in a Snyder movie,
refugee.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously they put them into a compound and then they're scanned and booked in, and then they're assigned a transporter, which takes it to the dealer, and it's sat there for a week now.
This is like the when it's bad enough when you're getting an Amazon delivery and that says drivers three stops away.
Yeah,
you spend weeks and weeks and weeks staring at a screen.
Yeah. Look on the bright side. Remember, this time last year, I was taking delivery of my car after nearly having it the day before we went into first lockdown.
That's right. Yeah,
and then sitting there churning, putting extra miles on a lease car, which was well over miles instead. So I appreciate that it's frustrating, but hopefully it's less time than I had to wait for my one. So I'm trying to put a bright side on it for you, mate.
Hopefully next week on the we're not doing the podcast next week, are we? It's so I'll definitely be talking about it the next time we do a weekly podcast. At least I hope so, because that's 2 weeks away. So I better have it by then.
Yeah,
otherwise,
absolutely. And we can be back to exciting conversations like how much have you spent on Super Unleaded? How much does it cost to go to the Metro Centre?
That's not an issue. It's not an issue. Right, let's move things on. What can we win, Kaz?
Current competitions. You can win that Lithe Audio Pro Series all-in-one ceiling speaker worth $599. And there's, as usual, a bunch of 4K Blu-ray competitions, 3 Studio Canal vintage classics on Blu-ray, Schwarzenegger's cult classic Last Action Hero on 4K. That one's for you, Steve.
Cult classics, basically a nice way of saying it bombed at the cinema.
It's pretty popular now, but yeah, you've still got time to enter that one, Steve. It's a Patreon exclusive, actually. You have to join the club.
As well as can enter.
He can, yeah. He's told me about that. As well as regular competitions for Tim Burton's Big Fish on 4K, Supernatural, the final series on Blu-ray, and Criterion's May titles on Blu-ray. So head over to avforums.com/competitions to enter, and all competitions are open to eligible AV Forums members resident in the UK. In terms of previous competition winners, we've got Dave S00, who won the podcast exclusive prize of The Craft and the Craft Legacy on Blu-ray.
Well done.
And that's it. Stay tuned for the podcast exclusive competition to win a copy of Mandy on limited edition Blu-ray.
I take it this has nothing to do with Barry Manilow.
No, it's the
it's
the Nicolas Cage one that's
full on bonkers.
Yeah. I loved it.
I quite enjoyed it. No, but it is full on bonkers.
Condo 007 did point out we missed Kit, which I would say is a fair point.
Oh, you're talking about cars.
Kit is not a movie car. I mean, there was a Knight Rider made for
Chitty
TV.
Chitty Bang Bang has to be the quintessential.
Yeah.
And he also asked whether I'm going to bother with Fast 9, and he tells me it's terrible.
He's seen it, has he?
I can't.
Well,
it's supposed to be terrible. Yeah, it did. I mean, I can't imagine not absolutely loving Fast 9.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's terrible, and then there's the Fast and the Furious.
Yeah,
exactly. They exist in a different astral plane, basically.
I absolutely love them. I have. It's the only film series where I can tolerate Vin Diesel.
I would say that John
please.
Cena, or whatever his name is, apologising profusely to the Chinese government was an unedifying
Yeah,
spectacle.
Why was
yes,
he apologising to
he
Because he
made a
acknowledged
mistake
that
over
Taiwan is actually a nation state, and it. Can we be clear
Yeah.
about this? It is a nation state.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he said that and then had to apologise to the Chinese government.
He's still a ridiculously funny guy. If anything, he stole the entire Suicide Squad trailer, and I can't wait to see him and Vin Diesel go at it in it. It's going to be a lot of
That
fun.
makes it.
Yeah, he looks just like Vin too, so he's perfect to play his brother.
Yes.
Well, it is the first movies, isn't it? I mean, who are they bringing
Yeah.
back from the dead this time?
Well, you said
Han, they
that.
brought Han back from
It's
the dead.
Han's back, is he? All right, okay, well, there you go.
He's on all the posters. They didn't even hide the fact.
It's like we liked him, we did
gonna
kill
bring
him,
him back.
but we've decided to unkill him.
Yeah, they're
Enjoy.
going to bring back Wonder Woman next.
I'll have to
Well, they
send.
can't afford it now.
No, she's
Yeah.
too expensive.
Well,
I'll have to send
after-
that box set back to you, Kaz.
Oh, yes.
That was the deal, wasn't it? I had to
was
send
the
it back
deal.
before Fast Time.
Yes.
So.
If you send it along with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox, that'd be great.
He hasn't got those yet.
I haven't got them.
I'll just send them direct then.
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
no.
I'll take that under advisement.
won't be doing that. Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's talk hardware, and we're going to do that next.
If you'd like to support the AV Forums podcast on a regular basis, then why not become a patron? Head over to patreon.com/AV Forums to sign up. You can also make a one-off donation through the Super Chat or via streamlabs.com/AV Forums. All donations help us to improve the website and the podcasts. Thank you to all our supporters.
Right. So let's move on and let's do some reviews first of all. There's not a lot of news this week, so we're going to stick with reviews. So let's go audio first. Let's go, Ed, some hi-fi. Bowers and Wilkins, some new speakers you've been looking at.
Yes, there were 2 Bowers and Wilkins reviews this month, which for scheduling I normally try and avoid, but they're 2 wildly different things. We did the PI7, the wireless earbuds, and now this is the 603 S2 anniversary, which is the largest member of the 600 series, newly reinvigorated to celebrate 25 years of 600 series speakers. And I don't know about you, gentlemen, I can remember the first generation of 600 series speakers, and that makes me feel old. I mean, obviously it's an occupational hazard, but nevertheless, 25 years. And I do point this out in the review. In that time, they've either been the benchmark or near the benchmark. They've had great years and they've had years where they've only been very good, or model years rather than actual specific years. But nevertheless, they've been at the top of the pile all this time. Now, 603, if you're looking for a radically revised, completely ground up, clean sheet of paper design, you may as well stop reading now, because it isn't. It is a carefully reworked version of the previous iteration. And if you're looking for big anniversary celebration style stuff, no, there isn't that either. There's a little script around the tweeter housing that points out that it's an anniversary version. But most importantly, what Bowers and Wilkins has been tinkering with behind the scenes is the crossover. Now, if you read my reviews of the Signature series, the 702 Signature and the 705 Signature, it was the work that Bowers and Wilkins had done on the crossovers that made all the difference to those. And some of the same voodoo magic has been worked into the 603. I have made no secret. Historically, I was not an enormous fan of large Bowers and Wilkins floor standers with many, many drivers. They had many drivers, and there were times when you could hear all of them. This is not that. It has some of the same cohesiveness, togetherness, and general rightness. That's probably not a word, but I'm just going to go with that for now. Of the Signature series. It's not as pretty. Obviously, it can't be as pretty. It's nowhere near as pricey. But they were in this room for a significant length of time, and they sounded extremely good. Now, at the end of the review, I will deal with sound quality in just a moment. But this is important. I said right at the end of the review when it goes live that there are certain products which I miss. At the moment that I start boxing them up, I think I'm going to miss these. And being absolutely unsentimental for a moment, doesn't really apply to the Bowers and Wilkins. But the more I thought about that, the more it became clear that I needed to sort of put my big boy trousers on and be relevant to the actual readership for a moment. The reason that these speakers didn't necessarily leave an enormous emotional imprint upon me is because they are viceless. And it's all very well for me to talk about character and products doing certain things in certain ways, and it's all very engaging. But if you are buying something to live with for the next 5, maybe even 10 years, that is not necessarily the blueprint to success. These speakers do absolutely nothing wrong. And you can make the argument that as a result of that, they don't have facets of their performance and behavior that stick in the memory, but they are absolutely able to handle anything I played on them. They're fairly unfussy about what you partner them with, so long as it has a reasonable power output. And they're not terribly difficult to place in room. And you can find yourself, and I suspect if you went off to do a demonstration against some of the key rivals, you may find that something like the Focal Cora, I think it's the Cora or maybe even the Chorus speakers, you may find that something like that is more immediately exciting than the Bowers and Wilkins. And I don't believe that Bowers and Wilkins would have a problem acknowledging that that might be the case. Where these things start to come into their own is just how astonishingly capable across everything that you play with them. And that was both sort of on-demand TV stuff and music as well. They just sounded absolutely together. Tonally accurate, tremendous sort of scale as well. It is a big loudspeaker, but it manages to sound big with it. And the result was that I reevaluated it to an extent what I was about to say, because if you are looking to spend a not inconsequential sum of money, £1,500 is the list price. These speakers will do you absolutely right for years and years and years, and they will not miss a beat or put a foot wrong in that time. If, like me, you seemingly crave idiosyncrasy every now and again, you may find that they're just a little bit too sort of straight-laced, but that should be taken with a pinch of salt. If you're looking for something to spend a significant sum of money on and enjoy for a very long time to come, they are extremely good. There's obviously lots of more ground covered in the review. The only thing I would say, I think I did mention this in the review, but it's worth remembering just in case I didn't. When I reviewed the 702 Signature, the big floor stander, I went to all the effort of putting the truly enormous plinth on the bottom of it, which meant that you could have actually listened to them on a North Sea trawler and they wouldn't have fallen over. I actually had a message from Bowers and Wilkins saying, unless you are on a North Sea trawler, don't put the plinth on. So when I tested these, I simply attached the spikes straight to the bottom of them, and they do sound a lot better than they do with the plinth on, because I did then test it with the plinth. If you haven't got toddlers running around or a house on, danger of sliding into the valley or something like that, don't bother with the plinths. Just listen to them with the spikes attached straight to the bottom of them. They sound a great deal better. The review will be going up sometime in the not too distant future. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments thread. I'll do my best to answer them. This is a product that you possibly buy with your head as much as your heart, but don't let that put you off, because when you've had a really crap day at work and you come home and you just want to play your favorite music extremely loudly, it doesn't matter what you're in the mood to do, they'll just do it brilliantly. So it's one of those things. I enjoyed this product, and provided that you're an adult about it, I think you probably will too.
So 25th anniversary, was it, Ed?
Yes.
What about the 602s? Were they the same, 25 years, or are they a bit?
Yeah, no. I can't remember which ones have been.
Because I'm convinced I had my 602s in '94. I'm convinced I bought them in '94.
Certain models have come in and out of the range. And the range now is smaller than it's ever been. There is no, as far as I know, is now
might be 95 actually.
600, 601, 603. And there used to be things like the 602.5, which was a great loudspeaker. I mean, it was ugly on a stick, but it was fantastic to listen to. They've cut the range right back, and there's no dedicated surround or effects speaker in the range now either. That's not
They
part
weren't
of.
very good anyway.
I didn't listen to them, but yeah,
I had originally a 600 series with the dipole speakers, and I got rid of the dipoles within a week. They were not very good. I replaced them with some Polk LX effects, actually.
I think 95 sounds right, Phil.
Yeah.
These actually were released last year, so that's 25 years.
Yeah.
I think it was definitely 95 because I bought everything all in one. I bought a 925 Laserdisc player and a 3090 Yamaha Dolby Digital.
The Toshiba rear projection TV.
I've never had a Toshiba. It was a Pioneer.
Oh, Pioneer, sorry, rear projection TV.
Yeah, I bought that a few months. I think it was 6 months later after I bought the audio, because I bought the audio and the audio was far better, bigger in scale, and I needed a bigger screen. That was my excuse for spending $4,000
It's
on a
only
rear projection
fair.
TV. That was crap. Compared to what we get nowadays in terms of like
I had a
32-inch
32-inch wide screen,
yeah,
Philips, and it was crap.
Oh, the last thing
Even then I thought it was a bit ropey.
Last thing I would say is if you've got obviously there's black and white finishes for these 25th anniversary ones, same as there was in the previous generation. There's also a wood finish, and that's by far and away the best looking of the lot. The black finish is really well bolted together. It's beautifully done, and if you are in a cinema context, it's a properly dark, light absorbing loudspeaker. But I wouldn't describe it as a natural beauty. So I'd go for the wood finish if you have any choice in the matter. But those are my considered thoughts.
Okay, well, I got to say, I mean, I had those a long time ago, but the 600 series, they're always a good entry point to Bowers and Wilkins. So if you've never listened to them and you're looking for something around about that, I'd recommend. And Steve, you've listened to them recently as well, haven't you? So
yeah, last year.
The catch I'd give is perhaps I was spoiled by the signatures, because the 705 signature, obviously it's an extra £1,000. It's not like it's a discretionary sum extra, and it's a smaller loudspeaker. But the 705 signature is one of the greatest Bowers and Wilkins loudspeakers I've listened to in this century. And it means it perhaps meant that I was overexcited for what the 603 might do. The 603 is blindingly good and blindingly competent, but there perhaps isn't quite the same spark of magic that made the 705 such a magnificent loudspeaker.
Yeah. Right. Ed can go and take care of other matters now. He can disappear, and I'm sure Kaz is going to disappear as well, because we're going to start talking about a TV that costs. It's an LCD TV that costs £8,000. So let's get that out of the way first, Steve. I think that's the big elephant in the room. What is the TV, and why does it cost $8,000?
It's the 75-inch Samsung QN900A Neo QLED, which basically means there's a mini LED backlight TV. So, I mean, it is their flagship model. It's their premium flagship model. So it was always going to be toppy on the price. But 8K is a lot. I know.
Yeah, and it's an 8K resolution TV.
Yeah. It's. I mean, it's hard to get past the price, because when you consider you could buy the 77-inch G1,
or even an 83-inch this year.
Well, I'm just trying to think of a premium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would consider the G1 to be a premium high-end model in the LG range. 77-inch, and that's 4,799 quid. So that's a big price differential. Now you can say, oh, well, you're getting 8K, but the reality is obviously there's not going to be any 8K sources anytime soon. So, although I will say that the AI enhanced upscaling with the neural networking and multiple machine learning does work brilliantly and makes full use of all those extra pixels. But it is a very toppy price, I have to say.
Yeah.
When you consider what else you can get for literally half the price. That aside, at least it looks like what it is, a premium product. You know, I mean, it's beautifully made. I mean, you've seen the design, Phil. It's incredibly,
it
it's only
is.
15 millimeters deep because it's using these new, much smaller LEDs for the backlight. So it looks absolutely stunning. You know, before you turn it on, it's a gorgeous piece of industrial design. Wall mounted, it looks fantastic because it's so thin. You know, it's just 15 millimeters from top to bottom. It's obviously got the new slim One Connect box, which is a great idea, and I'm really amazed no one else has pinched it yet. Which you can either attach to the
Probably
stand
because
at the
there's a
back.
patent on it, Steve.
Yeah, quite possibly. I don't know. Can you patent the idea of just having a separate connection spots? Because I mean, Pioneer used to do it, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. But there must be something if others are not jumping on the bandwagon.
Or yeah, maybe just a cost issue. But it's been slimmed down, so it's much slimmer than the previous box, which it's also a nice textured matte finish. So you don't, because the one before was just a fingerprint magnet because it was a glossy black box. So it's thinner. You can either put it separately away from the TV if you're wall mounting, or there's a space on the back of the stand where you can attach it if you want to attach it to the back of the TV instead, which is quite a good idea. It's got the new solar powered remote control, uses the Tizen Smart System, which I think is fantastic. Really good, slick, responsive platform with a comprehensive set of apps to choose from, and it still uses a launcher bar at the bottom rather than taking over the whole page, which I don't like about the new version of WebOS. It's got the OTS Object Tracking Sound Pro system, so that means there's left and right at the bottom plus a center channel. There's 2 channels on halfway up and then 2 more at the top of the panel, so it sounds really good. The only annoying thing is they've got all these speakers in there, and it still doesn't decode internally Dolby Atmos, which seems like a missed opportunity given you've put height speakers into the television. You can send Atmos back via ARC from the built-in apps, but that does seem like a bit of a missed opportunity. Gaming wise, it's you know, if you're a gamer, this applies to all of Samsung's TVs really. I mean, not just this one, but you know, they are really good choices for gamers because obviously you don't have to worry about things like screen burn or image retention. The input lag was 9.7 milliseconds. It supports, I mean, obviously it's got fully spec HDMI 2.1 48 gigabits per second inputs, but you know, it does 120 hertz, 4K 120 hertz, VRR, ALM, and FreeSync, but doesn't do G-Sync. And it's got the new game bar on the bottom, so when you're playing a game, it's actually, I do like this. It's quite a good idea because it shows you all the game-related features at the bottom, so you can quickly see what you're doing in terms of, you know, with HDR, what frame rate, you know, what settings you've got selected for the gaming stuff. So that's actually quite a nice feature like that. And picture-wise, it's got a filmmaker mode. I've got to say, out of the box accuracy was a bit disappointing. Certainly, I was just looking at my measurements from last year's from the Q900A TS, and that was a lot more accurate out of the box. So don't know what happened there. And the gamma curve is a bit ropey too. It's dropping, you know, it really sags down at the sort of 1890 IRE. So it's not tracking BT 1886 correctly, which again it was last year. So I don't know what they've been doing there. You can fix it, you know, and calibrate it and get it perfect, but that's a bit disappointing for an out of the box setting, particularly given its filmmaker mode, where the emphasis is supposed to be on out of the box accuracy.
Yeah, I'm surprised at, because every TV I've tested with filmmaker, they've all been under 3 in terms of delta E.
Yeah.
So that does sound a little bit odd.
And in general, like I said, the you know, once I'd calibrated it, it was a lovely accurate picture with SDR, and the AI enhanced upscaling does a great job. I mean, things like Now TV, which is, you know, 720, or in my case 720p, because I'm not paying for the boost. It does a great job of upscaling. That makes it look really good. Moving on to HDR, the peak brightness is about 1600 nits on a 10% window, and on a full field pattern, it's just under 500 nits. So I think you pointed us out in your review of the 800 last year, towards the end of last year, Phil. Was it last year or early this year?
Yeah, it was early this year.
Yeah.
Time flows strangely in these weird times.
That's not as bright as a full field pattern as the 4K TVs, the 95.
Yeah, and that's just down to the pixel density. If you
got more density of the panel,
more pixels fighting the light, so you need a brighter light behind them get the same light output as a 4K TV. So it's just it's a drawback of the technology. I'm sure they're always developing these things. They're always changing the algorithm, so they'll keep improving that. And it's
put it in context though. That's significantly brighter than the OLED
exactly.
is on a
an OLED's like the brightest
150.
OLED is about 150. So yeah.
I counted over 1,700 zones. So there's a lot of zones on this TV. That's, I'd say, more than 3 times the number of zones from last year.
Serious question. How do you do that, Steve?
Because the test pattern on the Spears and Munsell disc is a little white square that moves along the top and then down the side. As it's moving along, you've got to count as it glows.
You have to do it in the pitch black.
That honestly sounds like,
and you have to turn the brightness up so you can then see when it's changing.
That sounds like the sort of thing that the remaining inmates of Guantanamo Bay are subjected to. Head into this pitch black room and count the zones.
But you see, the manufacturers will not say. I mean, the manufacturer could just say it's got so many zones, and it's like, all right, fair enough. But they don't tell you. I mean, Samsung won't tell you, Sony won't tell you what. I mean, so you have to count them. You have to actually sit and count them. And of course, if you miss one row, you could be quite a bit out in terms of. I've done that before in a review, missed a row. I haven't realized there was
I did it about 5 times just to make sure I was right, because I was thinking, I'm getting this right. I'm pretty sure. And I did check with Samsung off the record, so I know that I'm in the ballpark.
So you just tell everybody.
So lots of zones. But as we've mentioned many times before, that doesn't mean to say that's a good thing, because it's what you do with the zones that counts. It's like many things in life, it's what you do with it that counts. And I have to say that traditionally, Samsung have always had really good local dimming algorithms. Now, in the last couple of years, in an effort to eliminate blooming, they've been a little bit aggressive. And what's happened is that you've lost detail in around, so you'll have a bright white object, say, against dark background, but say maybe some shadow detail around that white object will become crushed out because they're trying to eliminate blooming. This year, it looks like they've tried to go back the other way a bit, so not quite as aggressive, but that does mean you get a bit more blooming than you did last year. It's what can you do? At the end of the day, even though 1,700 sounds like a lot of zones, there are 8 million on an OLED because it's self-emissive on a 4K OLED. So 1,700 still isn't that many over a screen size of 75 inches diagonally. And so you got 2 options. I actually think I'd rather have a little bit of blooming but get all my pitch detail back than have it being too aggressive and crushing it out. And I will say that give it a good HDR source and it does look spectacular. The HDR performance. I will say also out of the box that even again in filmmaker mode, the PQ tracking is not great. It's brightening the middle part of the image. Although again, you can fix that just by dropping the contrast down and moving the control for the STE2084 setting to +2, and you'll end up with it tracking PQ pretty closely. And it does a pretty good job with both 1,000 and 4,000 nit content in terms of, because obviously with 1,000 nit content, it's not really doing much tone mapping because it can do 1,000 nits, but obviously with 4,000 nit content, it still has to tone map. So overall, it's a really good TV. It's just really, really expensive.
Yep. It's a thing. It keeps coming back and slapping you in the face as the price. Unfortunately, I guess. I mean,
awful lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at the QN900A, which is the 4K version, so it has most of the features that this TV has, and it's significantly cheaper as well. So
I would. There's last year there was a significant difference between the 8K models and the flagship 4K TV. This year that is less so.
In terms of features,
QN95, it has largely the same features. It doesn't have. It has object tracking sound plus, so it has 2 at the top, 2 in the middle, 2 at the bottom. It hasn't got the center channel speaker, but not a massive difference. It has a slimmed down One Connect box. You can't attach it to the back of the stand, but again, not a major problem. Design's very similar. It's not quite. It hasn't got the completely bezel-less screen, but it's very close, and it's very similar. And I've got to say that performance-wise, it was a really good TV, and it's half the price. So
Can
so
you remind me what are the 83-inch OLEDs going for this year? I mean, I know they're 4K.
we don't know
They're
yet.
about $7,000. $7,000
But-
would be our best guess, I think.
Yes.
I mean, in the continued absence of 8K content, I mean, I have to be honest, it's neither of these things is exactly on my list of things to do, but I'd probably go for the extra real estate avoidance of some of the issues you've described, and just do that instead.
Yeah. I mean, I think Samsung would like the story to be a bit further on than it is. And obviously the pandemic's played a big part in that. Things haven't progressed for a lot of companies that they've had their roadmaps developed for some time now. And obviously, the pandemic has put a lot of issues in there. I think in terms of 8K, I think Samsung were expecting 8K to be a bit further along because the Olympics were going to be a banner event for 8K, not in this country, but certainly out east. There was going to be broadcasts in 8K and so on, which I think Samsung were kind of placing their bets on that to move the technology on and get the marketing out there. I mean, 8K is coming. It's you can't stop it coming. It will eventually be here. I just think Samsung thought it was going to be a little bit further along. Like I did, I thought it'd be a bit further along now, and we'd see more of them, because I think just 2 years ago there was lots of manufacturers saying that they were going to bring 8K to market, and they've all put that on the back burner a little bit. So,
I mean, don't get me wrong, it wouldn't be the first time that certain technological changes that we felt were inevitable have been altered by external factors, but
well, I mean that's almost what killed OLED. The introduction of HDR almost killed OLED.
But it's I mean, let's face it, I still can't do an evening's normal viewing in 4K. I mean, not being unfacetious for a moment, it seems willful to be pushing to increase resolution further when we actually, the delivery systems for the preceding resolution are far from nailed down.
But
I mean, go on, Cass.
I mean, from my perspective, my limited perspective, hearing Steve's very detailed review of it, I can only imagine. I was expecting Steve to say it's not worth 8K, but here's the list of things where it's better than everything else on the market. It's just not $4,000 better or whatever, but it doesn't sound like it's really better. It sounds like what they're aiming for is someone's going to come along and see an 8K price tag and go, ooh, this looks like the one to have.
I think that's a little bit unfair, because there is technology in here. There's money being spent.
But I think Kaz makes a valid point. There is tremendous technology, but in terms of, to do a motoring metaphor, getting the power down, Steve's feedback is not, it doesn't suggest that it's 100% unequivocally successful in actually doing that.
Steve?
Yes. It's a premium product at a premium price, and certainly no one would question that fact when you look at it. And I've just realized it's 8K for 8K. Which
that was my joke right at the start. It went right over your head.
I missed that one entirely.
Yeah, you did. Absolutely did.
But when Kaz did it, I thought, oh yeah, good point, Kaz. I just wasn't listening to you, Phil. So.
Yeah, I know. I get used to it. People don't listen. I know.
No, it's there's the usual gripes too. It's like there's no Dolby Vision. I know you could say, well, it's pretty bright, it doesn't need Dolby Vision, but I mean, not everything's. There is 4,000 nit content as well as 1,000 nit content in. It does have to tone map that. So there are things, there are issues that make it definitely. I mean, it's just difficult to justify a TV when you consider that the price for as just pointed out, the 83-inch OLEDs are going to be around $7,000. Then that's still a premium over a TV that's even larger. And is it worth that premium for 8K? Well, as Phil just pointed out, there isn't any content, and unfortunately, because of the pandemic and the Olympics being pushed back and everything, there's no showcases for 8K content. I know there's been some talk about gaming in 8K, but the new consoles, as is typically the case, they've overpromised, under-delivered. There's no way those consoles are going to be able to do 8K at anything approaching a sensible frame rate. So that's not going to happen either. So I mean, what they do with the processing and the upscaling is amazing.
It is, yeah.
You know, absolutely, it looks incredible sometimes. Like I said, you can take even ropey input and make it look incredible. Give it a good quality feed, a really good 4K DI, and it'll make it look stunning.
But the one fact that always astonishes me and blows my mind is SD content. It has to create 99% of the
mind blowing. That I mean, it's like a visual phono stage to do a really weird do a really weird analogy.
So
but
it has to create
extrapolation.
99% of the image. I mean, of course, it's SD looks ropey as it is, so it's not going to look any better once it's gone through their process. But yeah, like you say, if 720 upwards, Steve, there is hope for it to look nice and to actually do a decent job with it.
Yeah, no, and if you're watching things like Army of the Dead, pixels aside, it looked absolutely stunning on the TV, and plenty of other content too. So the picture's fantastic, but when you consider that you're paying, again, 8,000 quid, it is. I mean, I guess some people are going to say, look, I want that TV. I think it looks fantastic. I don't care about the price. Fair enough. Other people might say, like, I don't want an OLED. I'm worried about screen burn. I'd rather have an LCD. Again, fair enough. People might say, like, I want an 8K TV. Fair enough. There's different people have different criteria. And if you're not bothered about that, then it's a stunning piece of industrial design, and it's got a cracking picture. So go for it.
So it gets.
I just think the AV Forums listeners tend to be, because they're enthusiasts, and their criteria are slightly different. I think it's not really about design or style or that sort of stuff. It's mostly just PQ.
Yeah.
They're going to look at the price and say, well, I can get the C1 for literally half that.
Yeah.
And it's slightly bigger screen. So.
Yeah, I mean, for enthusiasts, like you say, Steve, people that value that kind of thing, they are going to look at it at different aspects. So I guess, it's not going to get a best.
I will just answer a quick question, because someone did ask, what's his name? Zombies Feel Pain said, any issues with picture and audio cutouts? No, not for me anyway. It's fine. Quite stable.
Okay.
No issues like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think 8K will ever become the standard. Somebody said it 10 years before it will become the standard. I don't think it will become a standard. That all depends on Hollywood and the broadcast industry. I don't think they're going to take the hit in terms of certainly special effects side of things and so on. They're only now just being able to have the compute power to move up and render at 4K on a 4K DI. They would need to double that or triple that cost to then do it at 8K. So yeah, it's 10 years away, and I don't think it'll ever become a de facto standard. It will be an option, I think. I think you'll find other sources that take advantage, like gaming, as Steve said, but it won't be this generation of console. It'll be the next generation.
More PC gaming,
PC gamer or whatever.
Yeah, 8K at a sensible frame rate, and you could use it. That'd be amazing. But someone also asked, is it a 12-bit panel? Well, no, there aren't.
There won't be any 12-bit panels for some time. Yeah. Again, you'd never see the difference between a 10-bit and a 12-bit panel.
No, it's a 10-bit panel, but it can set to 12-bit signal. So, like, no, Dolby Vision is not a good example because it doesn't support that. But if your player's outputting 12-bit, it will accept it, no problem at all.
But in terms of 12-bit panels, it's just not worth the manufacturer to do that. Anyway, Steve, I'm going to try it for a third time with this joke. Does it get a Best Buy badge? Boom, boom, tish.
Probably not.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, well, it's the problem is, I think, and we've done it to death. I think it's just a little bit toppy. Everything else seems to fit. The technology is good, like you said. The quantum processor and all the rest of it, the upscaling engine and so on. And it's a 75-incher. It's a nice big screen size and doesn't need much tone mapping in terms of HDR and so on. So I think we don't want to be overly negative, because I don't think it'd be fair to be overly negative. It's obviously a cracking TV and cracking picture. It's just a price tag that doesn't quite sit. Would that be a fair assumption, Steve?
Yes. No, it's a cracking TV, but it feels, and I'm more than a little bit overpriced when you compare it to what else. I mean, I know if you eliminate the 8K aspect of it, due to the lack of content.
But this is the problem at the moment. We can.
Yes.
I mean, as you said earlier, if Samsung's calculations had come to pass, then maybe it would be a different case. But for the moment, it has a killer app, which is not terribly killer. So
it's hard to justify the premium against competing TVs that are literally half the price for similar or even larger screen sizes. Someone else just asked if it's got handshaking issues. No, not. It's no handshaking issues. It's just that it does a thing where if you connect a new device, it will detect it and then set it up for you, which is fine for most people because they just connect things once and then forget about it. But if you keep plugging in a pattern generator, it drives you up the wall.
Yeah, it does. There's a few TVs do that, and it really drives it. But again, it's great if you're just plugging the one device in and it finds it and sets it all up for you. It's great technology. But like if you're a calibrator, real pain in the neck. Right, let's move things on. Still talking about lots and lots of money. 8.45 billion was the final price tag for MGM that Amazon has finally.
Yeah, I mean they did edge out my bid in the end. I'm not going to lie. I offered 25 quid and they just weren't interested. So
yeah, well, I mean, it's big news, Kaz, isn't it? I mean, we just to clear up last week, I went off on one mentioning films that were MGM films but are not
they're no longer
MGM. Although Tom didn't correct me, I'm surprised Tom didn't know that and didn't correct me.
We are I think everybody only remembered after the fact. But I mean, MGM has a whole bunch of films that it does still own. Not least a bunch of Bond movies.
Two of those, yeah.
I mean, it's a clever move by Amazon because it doesn't. I mean, it wouldn't be a place to go for classic movies necessarily. The question really is, are they going to do a channel or are they going to just unleash some of these on Amazon Prime? And I'm guessing from the fact they have 50 different channels, each of which you have to pay to subscribe to, they're going to do an MGM channel of some nature, which will have this kind of catalogue in there.
I've got to be honest, I don't know if I'm going to pay them extra money for any of these things.
No, so I think maybe there's a sideways move they could make, because I think that it feels to me like they're competing with Disney Star. And Disney Star, they found a way to rope it into the package and make it quite seamless. I don't think anyone's going to really quibble too much when they have to pay a little bit more for that in a year's time. If Amazon aren't careful, this will end up being another one of their Hulu, Shudder, whatever options, stars. There's so many options that they're actually drowning out the ones you want.
Ignore. I mean, you've paid for one or two of them, Kaz. Because
I had stars. Yeah, there's some good stuff on that, but I'm just blinded by the number of things they have. There's Shudder exclusives on there.
Yeah.
There's an entire channel dedicated to the Kardashians.
I mean, half of it, and I stress that I don't normally adopt an anti-capitalist procedure position when talking about these things, but when I'm dealing with a company that has its own space program, there is an element of resentment about. With some of the bundles that are on there, they're, if you like, they're still sort of they're not necessarily owned by Amazon. It's them pushing their own content through. This is owned by Amazon. I pay Amazon already. They're not short of a few bob. I'm not feeling particularly tempted to pay them any more money.
Well, maybe they'll just. I mean, what would it have to take? They could just increase the subscription by.
Yes,
$1.99.
No, that's an interesting point. If there was an increase in line with, I mean, obviously they do have some leeway because let's face it, Netflix, because they don't have the same
model.
The same model, they've had to do a number of price rises. So no, within the remit of inflation and offering me more content, I would probably. You're right, Kaz. I would accept. Do you know what? I'd accept an increase to my annual Prime payment for that. That's that reason, on the understanding that an Eastern European gentleman will still deliver me the stuff I've randomly ordered when I can't get it anywhere else.
Within 49 seconds.
Yes, exactly. So that's fine, but the idea of just paying for a specific extra content window in the manner of the additional channels, I'm not falling over myself to do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. And then thinking about it out loud, it seems like they would lose out on a lot that way, because I can't see they.
I don't see them doing that. The business model so far has been to bundle everything
very inclusive
as one. Because even the Premier Football, you don't pay any extra for that. All right, no. It's only like 2 weekends a year or a season that they have the content, but they've put it out there and not charged you any extra for that. So I don't think there'll be a separate charge. They might up the
thing. Well, they've got to get Prime, 8.5 billion though. Where are they going to get that from? Like, as in, I don't mean they don't have the money. I mean, obviously shareholders would rightly go, so great, you spent 8.5 billion. What are your projections on how you can recoup this? And they've got to have some quarter.
Well, they might, but equally, if they now own it.
You mean making new property? Like,
well, they have more options than we need to make a return through the streaming platform in X years.
Yes, I suppose they could make young RoboCop.
Well, I mean, I probably watch it, but that's because I have a very low threshold for these sort of things.
Yeah. But it's going to be interesting anyway to see what they do with that. They've made the purchase; it's gone through. We just
money's cleared. No bounces.
Checks clear. It hasn't bounced.
They filled in the funny little CVC code that Google insists on now, and it's all fine.
So yeah, we'll see where that one goes. Before we move on, Ian Crownshaw is donated £3 through Super Chat.
Much.
Thank you very much. Is appreciated. I wasn't sure if there was a question attached.
If there is, can you resend it?
Resend it.
I've been keeping an eye on the comments.
It's not on the run.
And if you haven't asked a question, you get to ask a question. Not a personal one, please.
Well, I don't know. You do most things for money, Ed. So
this is regrettably true.
And don't forget, if you're a patron, you get 10% off the merch. Lots of good merch. So go and have a look at that and sign up as a patron, because you get a discount off it as well. So there's some t-shirts up there that we've all put our ideas in.
Can I just say also, I maintain that the mug is a thing of minimalist beauty.
There you go.
I don't want to talk about the mug again.
No, but you're getting a t-shirt. You're getting something different.
But that doesn't mean, I don't want to hear about this.
Well, we can give you a 10% discount, Carl.
I hear you.
I'm sure we can extend it to a staff discount. I'm sure that. But anyway, check out the merch, 10% off for patrons, and there is some good t-shirts up there. And if you've got any ideas on merch, anything you want to see or would like to own with an AV Forums logo on it, why not make a suggestion?
I found Mr. Crownshaw's question.
All right, okay.
Do I need to update my X2400? And I'm afraid I don't know what that is. I'm relying on you guys.
I think
to be able to get Dolby Atmos properly from Netflix Prime or Disney Plus on my C9. Maybe an X3700, but I'm open to suggestions. I think there's two separate questions here. Is he getting full fat Atmos through his X2400 before we embark on spending any more money? And then would an X7300 be
from where? Where's he getting his Atmos?
It's C9 HDMI ARC, as best as I can work out.
Well, it should be full fat, lossless, if that's the case. So I wouldn't see an issue with that.
Okay. Well, Ian, you may have only had to spend £3.
I think you need to perhaps ask the question again, because I'm not quite sure what it is that you're asking there. Because if you're talking about streaming services, then it's going to be Dolby Digital derived Atmos, not Dolby True HD Atmos. So
and there's no limitation through the telly, as far as we know. So
as far as I know, if it's from a full fat source, it should come through EARC as full fat. So shouldn't be any issues there. I hope that answers the question. If not,
re-ask it.
Yeah.
As I say, that's wonderful.
Okay, right. Let's move on. We're going to software next.
If you enjoy the podcast on YouTube, then please like and subscribe. If you're listening to the audio version, then please leave us a rating on your podcast app. We invite you to email questions and feedback to podcast@avforums.com. and join in with this episode's discussion thread in the podcasts forum at AV Forums.
So we're going to talk about software, and Kaz has disappeared. So we don't need him for a while anyway. We're going into album playlist and vinyl because it's the end of the month.
It is the end of the month.
So Ed, what are your album playlist and vinyl choices of this month?
Right, I'm going to come to album last. Playlist of the month. I've done far too many Qobuz playlists because I'm lazy and I use Qobuz too often. So this month, it's this month, it's Deezer. Deezer has done a compilation of music, electro music used in film soundtracks, and it's a really, really storming playlist of stuff. Some of it's very predictable. You'll have heard it before. Some things you will have heard before, but you'll have forgotten about them. You can see, for viewers, there is Escape 700, which was done by the Chemical Brothers for the Hannah, not the Amazon TV series, the film from which it's derived soundtrack. That Chemical Brothers score is actually genuinely underrated. It's magnificent. And Escape 700 is probably the absolute highlight of it. Yeah. It's a really, really good listen. So that was my playlist month. It was an imaginative playlist put together really with some flair. It flows nicely. It's got some really good things on it. Once again, if you don't have a Deezer subscription, you can put in Deezer Electro Soundtrack into Google, get the URL from the Deezer web browser and use the Soundiz IZ app to take that soundtrack, that playlist, and put it into the streaming service of your choice. You do not need to be a subscriber to grab it. So it doesn't matter that it's on Deezer, although, as we said, Deezer is a fine streaming service and, well worth a subscription if you are bombing around looking for one. So that's very, very good. And vinyl of the month. This very nearly was an album of the week recommendation, but it was just edged out by that Dodie album. Sarah Jarosz, who I've spoken about before, she is an American singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist. She plays a bewildering number of instruments. She has released an album which was actually recorded a number of years ago, back in 2018, called the Blue Heron Suite, which she recorded, if you like, as a form of stress release whilst her mother was being treated for cancer. I'm pleased to say that she staged a recovery. I think this is an absolutely sublime piece of music. It is wonderful to listen to. It's unusual for a Sarah Jarosz album in so much as she's actually supported by a couple of other musicians, but it still feels very much like her own work. It really is a cracking listen. If you want to buy it on vinyl, and I do, and I have, then it's available on her website in a variety of different forms, and you can have it signed or unsigned. And it's weird. I actually felt the urge to get a signed version of this. But it's on the major streaming services as well. She produces music which is a cut above a lot of other singer-songwriter men and women performing in 2021. There's just a depth of concept that a number of artists just can't get anywhere near. So I really would recommend giving that a listen. As I say, that would under many circumstances have been an album of the week, but Dodie just crept up from behind and edged her at the end. That's not a euphemism or anything sordid. That's just how it happened. So, album of the week, and I never thought I'd get to say this, especially in 2021. The album of the week is Gary Newman.
Yay!
It is, he's been churning out music for as long as I have been alive. Gary Newman, Intruder came out this week, and we were having a discussion about this before we went live. I sort of agree with Phil in so much as, will this be in play for album of the year at the end of 2021? Maybe not, but I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to this.
Yeah, I did as well. I thought it was a great album, but if it's a superb album, it's normally on high rotation here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say that the title track, Intruder, is an absolute banger. And I probably shouldn't be using that phrase at 40, but nevertheless I am. If Gary Newman is still performing, I'm probably allowed to use that.
Yeah,
And Stuart did also point out that Gary Newman's hair is looking increasingly unrealistic, and that is also a valid critique. Nevertheless, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to this album. It manages something very clever. It manages to sound like a Gary Newman album, but it manages to sound entirely of the moment at the same time. I really enjoyed listening to it. I think it's well mastered, very creative. And it's also worth saying that Gary Newman is one of the very nicest people still making music today. So it would probably please him immensely if you bought this in some physical form. It is available in lots of different physical forms as well. If the website is available, if you just go to Gary Newman's website, there's lots of different options. It's available in various formats. It's available from other online retailers, and it's on all the major streaming services. I really enjoyed it. It's well worth a listen, and just knock yourself out.
He's done well, 40-year career.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
let's face, and also a 40-year career in a medium which favors new people with new ideas.
Yeah.
And every now and again, he comes back and reminds people that he still manages to have new ideas. I mean, in some regards, I'm an enormous fan of Kraftwerk. I make no secret about that. But Kraftwerk actually stopped creatively releasing new material in 2003. I mean, it's not an unreasonable lifespan of a band by any stretch of the imagination. Gary Newman is still doing new stuff, and that has to be celebrated. So, yeah, an easy album of the week choice for me there.
Yeah, and excellent, well recorded as well. And Craig Sowerby in the chat. I've known Craig a number of years. Craig works for PMC. They were created in a studio.
Yes, it was all done on PMC monitors. So, yes, I bet it sounds very good. It does sound very good, Craig. Well done.
Yeah, good stuff. So that's Ed's album playlist and vinyl of the month. So let's move on to 4K disc of the month. I haven't seen any. I know Ed hasn't. So I think it's just down to Steve and Kaz on this one. What are your choices? Kaz, what's your choice?
I think I'd probably go Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I mean, I just today we had My Fair Lady go live, and I thought it was a stunning disc.
It would be. It was shot on 65mm.
Yeah,
8K.
I mean, it looked fantastic. I was genuinely surprised, but I don't think I've seen a really good copy of Good, the Bad, and the Ugly maybe ever. I mean, to a certain extent, it's okay. It can look a little bit ropey. I mean, back in the days of VHS, whatever, it's always held together because it's kind of that kind of movie. But watching it in 4K was a new experience for me, and I love the film.
Am I right in remembering? I might be misremembering this, but was there not issues over the color grade on previous editions?
Yes,
there were by the same studio, wasn't it, Steve? I thought they
basically
released too.
The first Blu-ray release was MGM, which didn't look much better than it was basically using a very old HD master, and it didn't look much better than a DVD.
Was that the yellow one or the blue one?
No. That was. Then there was a release after that looked pretty good. Then they did a 4K restoration, and by them I mean the rights owners in Italy. From the camera negative, and that's when they did a really bizarre color grade where everything was kind of yellowy.
Yeah, and then they did a blue version. That was Kino Lorber trying to correct the color grade of the Italian restoration.
Yep. So that ended up looking a bit cyany because they were kind of trying to get all the yellow out of the image. And the new one, as you say, has a new color grade that I thought looks fantastic.
Plenty of people have complained about it, though. I've heard lots of complaints about it. I mean, maybe it's not going to be perfect, but
people just want to complain. I think it looks great.
It does.
Can we be clear? It's a cornerstone of the existence of AV forums.
I know, but wouldn't people, after having it in every other different tint you could imagine? I mean, it was as if
you'd want a matching box.
You'd want a matching
box set of all the different tints.
Kaz, you will never ever please everybody.
Yeah,
It's never going to happen.
I know.
In the
Anyway,
absence of the DP and Sergio Leone, because they're both dead, it looks correct to me. You know, obviously, I don't know what Leone's original intentions were. I didn't see the film in '66, so I wasn't even born. So don't know, but to me, it looks great, and I'm very happy with it. I won't pick that as mine though. I'll pick something else, a bit left field, but it looked just well. I mean, I loved Speed. I thought Speed looked fantastic.
Yes,
they did a great job there. But the film hasn't been reviewed yet by AV Forums, but it surprised me massively because I wasn't expecting anything from this film, and that's Animal House. You know, you think a 1978 low budget production
Film shot on
$85. It looks great.
I think Simon is reviewing it, isn't he?
Yeah, he is reviewing it.
I just think he hasn't reviewed it yet.
Yes,
it's not up on the site yet. But the 35mm, they've obviously scanned the 35mm camera negative, and it looks really good.
I
and
do love that
DTSX soundtrack as well, and I was absolutely delighted. It's so funny. I haven't seen it in a while, and I really appreciate it. I think maybe because it's the details there, but Stephen First, who plays Flounder, some of his reactions to things are absolutely genius. The bit when he walks into the toga party with his girlfriend and a bottle of beer hits him in the face, his response and reaction to it, and the way he just kind of continued without really trying to register it and try and look cool in front of his girlfriend. It's tiny things, but they're just really funny. I thoroughly enjoyed that. So that would be my left field choice. Obviously,
Secret
Justice League
Probation.
looks fantastic.
Justice League does. I mean, it does look fantastic. I mean, even Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was a bit left field. Craig Sowerby on the chat said, "Has it sold out, or is it?" He didn't see it in HMV. Is it just an import? It is an import, and it's really hard to.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah, it is really hard to.
In the States.
Kino Lorber, yeah.
Is it sold out? I think it might be hard to find now because
very hard to find. I think they're chipping it on eBay.
Welcome to the world of vinyl reissue.
Because I noticed that the Basic Instinct release is coming out in
I've got it. I've got the disc.
But I think it's already sold out. It's already
Has it
sold
really
out,
sold out? Is it? Right.
On Amazon. You can't order it anymore. These things are I mean, I'm sure, don't worry, Phil, this is like the nice box set. I'm sure it'll come out again and be re-released.
I don't need the nice box set, and I'm sure it'll look great. I love the score.
Jerry Goldsmith's score.
The Jerry Goldsmith score is absolutely fantastic, and I love the commentary track, especially for the main scene between Stone and so on.
I think it's a cracking thriller. I even like the chase, the car chase scene on the
it's a good car chase.
on the cliff. It's well put together and pretty tense.
And he's driving a Fox Body convertible as well.
Poor bastard.
Craig Selby again. I also had Speed on Laserdisc whilst it was still playing
same
in
here.
UK cinemas.
I think I've had it on every format. So I better get it on 4K.
And the 4K disc is the first time it's looked right, because it's always looked a bit hot. And certainly the Blu-ray, which was a 2009, I think, Blu-ray, was ropey. This is just a quantum leap up in terms of picture quality, color timing.
Yeah, they managed to get it right, don't they? It
looks great.
Yeah.
So Speed would certainly be on my list. Animal House, if you're a fan of the film, looks fantastic. My Fair Lady looks amazing. The Sting looks great.
I haven't got that yet, but
I think Simon points out in his review, it was shot deliberately to look like it was from the 30s. So it's never going to be super sharp the way modern productions would be, but it looks how it's meant to look. I haven't seen my Super 8 yet. Did you Super 8?
No, Simon did Super 8 as well. I think he thought it was all right.
You know what? With Super 8,
again, it's a great film for the first two acts, and then just ignore the third act.
He needs to make up he needs to make his mind. What does it want to be? Does it want the monster to be sympathetic, or does it wants to be villainous? It seems to want to have his cake and eat it. But as a love letter to Spielberg films of the 70s,
yes,
spot on.
And the train crash. If you ever want to test out your audio system.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah, it hasn't got a new mix. It's still the original Dolby True HD.
Right.
Same with
mix.
Speed, isn't it?
Yeah, but people were going about Super 8 like, oh, why hasn't it got an Atmos mix? Trust me, that original mix is not mucking about.
Well, I'd probably say the same about Speed.
Well, no, the Speed mix, I will say, the Speed mix is the same 5.1 mix, I think, from the Blu-ray back in 2009. And it's an interesting example of how sound designs change, because the LFE track is used very sparingly. I was watching the readout on my Trinnov.
It's used in some strange ways as well, because I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. Right at the start,
the car goes over your head,
event, and the car goes over your head. The bass on that is unbelievable, and it's like, but it never happens again in the movie. It's like one.
I was looking at the readout on the Trinnov, and I was thinking, why is the 0.1 thing why is that not being used? And then, of course, every now and then it would. You realise that back then they didn't use the LFE channel every 5 seconds like they do now.
Yeah. Right. So, disc of the month. There's lots of choices there, but Kaz's was The Good, the Bad, and Ugly, and Steve's was Animal House. Is that
Animal
right?
House.
Excellent. So, film of the month. We're still not quite going to cinemas, although I think Tom's going to go this.
Tom has been off to
or
the
has
cinema.
been to the
He
cinema.
is, He's refusing to see anything with Statham though, so I'm gonna be doing Wrath of Man.
But
And
obviously,
I
there's
think it's gonna pass over for anything that Statham has gone anywhere near. So that means
Does he not like
Fast
Statham?
and Furious 9. Maybe it's because you like it, Steve. It's just like I have to go with the complete opposite because Steve loves everything Statham. But yeah, he's flat out said no to Wrath of Man, or he's already told me what he's going to say about it, which isn't nice.
He says that Statham can do one.
I forgot another disc that came out.
It's
It's Big
harsh.
Fish, which is my favourite Tim Burton film, is also a cracking.
It is a great Tim Burton film. It's
his best
not
film.
a lot of love
It's
for
his
the
best
review.
film.
No, but it is a great. From those who did comment, they agreed it was a great Tim Burton film
And a good disc. Gorgeous.
Okay, right. So we've done the discs then. Film of the month. Film of the month. Go on.
Oh, well, one thing I was going to say, just to get us over time a little bit further, was you were mentioning how Laserdiscs used to come out. You'd import them same time as you saw films in the cinema.
Yeah.
Sometimes before it even opened in this country.
Yeah. So
before
what's interesting is that obviously for a while that hasn't really been the case. We've been you don't really have to do that anymore. But I've noticed over this last year, and particularly this year of releases, it's starting to creep back in.
Yep.
And you can get boss level imported, not necessarily 4K. There's no sign of a UK release for that. I have no idea why. You can get Nobody. I think
that's coming out
next month.
Yeah,
and it's out in the cinema. Yeah, it's out in the cinema next month. You can get Wrath of Man imported. It's interesting that they're starting to do this. There was Shadow in the Cloud, which was out, I think, in January. That's out on 4K, but there's no cinema release in the UK. So I do think it's interesting how they're playing this game, because in an age where 4K is not region encoded and where people can get access to streaming through VPN, and watch on HBO Max or whatever they want to do. It seems a bit of a gamble. I do not understand why they don't just release it.
What's happened is that these films have got either a cinema release or a streaming release of some kind in the States, but they've been held back here for the cinema, and it's like, well, you're wasting your time, because anyone who wants to see these films is going to watch them already.
Yeah. It's not like it's a big film. I can understand if they were doing it for a big release, but I don't.
Well, I mean, if it was something like Kong versus Godzilla,
yes,
and you still want to see that on the big screen, people will still go back to the cinema and see it on the big screen, even though it's been out for some time now on advanced rental and so on. So yeah, it's strange. Will it still be the case once things start to get back to some kind of normality and cinemas start kicking back in?
Yeah, I mean,
interesting to see.
It will. It just reminded me of when you were saying,
so
this early, because a lot of these.
Are we going to do film of the month then, Kaz?
Stop stalling.
You know, one of the best films I saw was Little Fish, but because I didn't get the chance to review The Mitchells and the Machines, I've given it my honorary film of the month, because sitting down and watching that with the family, we had an absolute blast. And
Great film.
that, you know, it just doesn't often happen to come across that on Netflix. I had a great Netflix month because I watched Extraction for the first time. You know, I watched Mitchells and the Machines. It's like I watched all their good movies in 1 month. But it was a lot of fun. It was fast. It was very witty, and for me, it had the Pixar heart. I know that didn't apply to everybody. I know it's a common criticism of everything that's not Pixar, but they nailed the father-daughter relationship for me, and yeah, I absolutely loved it.
Okay.
So that's going to get my honorary film of the month. As I say, I didn't review it, so I couldn't score it, but there you go.
Oh, you can still make up a score. Well, we'll give it 6 Kaz, and then people can complain, because your 6 is like a 9, isn't it? Really?
Oh yeah, I'm not even going to get into
Even
scores.
Tom gave it an 8.
He did give it an 8. I'd have probably pushed for a 9, but I would have given it a 9 on the day I watched it. I'm sure that a reasonable,
Yeah, I think
rational
it's a 9.
person would give it that.
I think it's a 9. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, -4. Right, Steve.
Probably the same as Kaz, although I thoroughly enjoyed Army of the Dead. It looked and sounded great in my home cinema, and I mean, that fact it's 2.5 hours. I can still just pause it and go for a wee, make a cup of tea. So, yeah, it's been a good week for Zack Snyder.
Can I just, obviously I haven't watched anything new because I don't watch films at bed, but I did because it reappeared on Netflix, and it's like, bollocks, why not? I rewatched Highlander, and it was every bit as awfully magnificent as I remember. What a thing. If you're just wanting to literally revel in the sheer peculiarity of that film, what better way to do it?
I want to know I think you retweeted this as well.
I did.
The casting meeting.
Yeah, there's a magnificent man on Twitter with the handle XL Pope. He's very good at Excel, Microsoft Excel. Who said, if I had the option to time travel, forget dinosaurs killing baby Hitler or anything like that, I want to go back to the casting meeting for Highlander to work out how it came to be. And I have to say that having said that, I completely agree with all of it. But I sat down and watched it, and I absolutely adored it. And I have to say, Clancy Brown, across both this and so many things, what a magnificent actor!
What a fantastic voice!
Oh well, he's the whole.
Sister, I am a worm.
He is the whole package. He is absolutely magnificent. So yes, I haven't watched anything new. I'm sure there's lots of lovely new films out there, and Kaz and Tom and Steve talking about all of them.
He voices Lex Luthor in the Justice League cartoons, and
he was also in. Did you ever watch Megas XLR, about the bloke who found a giant robot on a scrap heap and put a car on top of it? But the enemy alien was voiced by Clancy Brown, and he is clearly having an absolute riot from start to finish. And of course, as the drill sergeant in Starship Troopers, you know,
yeah,
it's, as I say, the man's a genius. But you know, let's not forget the Scotsman playing an Egyptian, the Frenchman playing a Scotsman. I mean, it's got everything. So I thoroughly enjoyed watching that. Thank you, Netflix, for remembering what you're good at and bringing terrible films back to pay to free viewing. So yeah.
Right, so before we go into TV show of the month, if you're enjoying the podcast, if you like what we've done this evening, please remember to hit that like button. It does help us. It helps the podcast get found. It helps us find new members to come along and join our AV cult. So if you could just hit the like button if you're around and watching live, that is appreciated. If you're watching later in the week on YouTube, then again, please hit the like button. And of course, Ian, thank you very much for your donation tonight of £3. That really is appreciated as well. And hopefully we answered your question, and if not, shove it in the thread and we'll answer it later on. Right.
Sorry, very quickly, Adrian Callif has just said, my friend's father worked on Highlander and was given 2 days to teach Christopher Lambert the Scottish accent. I mean, I don't know whether he would ever want to admit that in a CV sense. I mean, he did. there's the rudiments of Christopher Lambert trying, but then when Sean Connery turns up,
Christophe Lambert, but
yeah, when Sean Connery turns up being Egyptian with his
Egyptian Spaniard, for some reason.
Yeah, I thought he was Egyptian Spaniard. Yeah.
But I like the fact that Christophe Lambert's got that kind of strange accent later on in the film, because the idea of him being around for hundreds of years, it sells the idea of it. It makes him otherworldly.
Yeah.
Love the film. It's an absolute classic.
Yeah.
As opposed to coming out 4K disc at some point,
as opposed to the sequel, which really isn't.
I saw the sequel at the cinema, and I remember being somewhat disappointed when
Isn't there a renegade cut of the sequel, which is supposed to be slightly?
Yeah, there's two different versions.
Yeah, slightly more tolerable. Tom Davies said that Statham can do one.
Why are you watching this if you're not on it?
Yeah,
right, let's do TV show of the month to wrap everything up. So I know myself and Ed are going to talk about the usual. There is a new series of.
Actually, no. I would like, if you're going to do the usual, I will talk about something else, because so it makes sense. We can do.
Is it from 2021?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of these things are 2021. Just because you don't watch classic
TV series.
No,
not unless I can possibly avoid it.
So, Air Crash Investigation, new series, been excellent, been really good. Some excellent acting in that, some superb cinematography, excellent surround sound. The planes actually crashed.
Stop trying to sell it as an AV program.
And I would like to give my thanks. Sorry, I need to give the actual person who pointed this out to me. That after me complaining vociferously since Disney Plus came along, Air Crash, a select seat set number, Nigel Hanna has pointed out that on June the 25th, seasons 10 to 18 of Air Crash Investigation will arrive on Disney Plus /Star.
Oh, well,
I, for one, am
that's
delighted.
60 quid taken care of right
Exactly.
there.
Yeah. So, brilliant.
Yeah.
Delighted with that.
So yeah, the new series has been very, very good. So that's the only thing I've been watching. Actually, I started watching the new thing with Dr. Alice, what's her face, archaeologist Roberts. That's her. She's got a new thing on history where she goes to historic towns. So it's quite interesting. They did Chester this week, Roman city, and it's amazing how much still exists. So if you like that kind of thing, I used to be a big Time Team fan, which Alice used to be in that as well. So it's a good program. If you
see that Professor Brian Cox is blagging the holiday out the BBC that starts on Sunday night. Yeah.
Nice.
What's he doing this time?
Oh, usual. Yeah, but
billions and millions and trillions and millions.
Standing around on some beach somewhere trying to look cool at the taxpayers' expense.
Yeah. Fancy going to the desert. So this is what Mars would look like.
Ish.
26 billion trillion years ago. Right. What about you, Kaz? You don't watch good TV. You watch drama rubbish. So what's your pick?
No, I don't watch good TV. I watch great TV.
Oh, fight talk.
Okay.
HBO, Mayor of Easttown.
To be fair, lots of people have suggested this is quite good.
It's I really didn't expect it at all. The name, I think, completely put me off. Oh, aren't you funny? It's Mayor, they're the mayor, only she's not playing the mayor. So the name is Mayor. Anyway, it really put me off, the name. But HBO and Kate Winslet, I haven't seen her do work this good in years, and it reminded me of just how good an actress she is. Phenomenally put together and staged. Some really tense moments that come out of nowhere. Aside from a couple of niggling things which I can see possibly landing in the final episode, it's kept it pretty surprising. I would say across the runtime. I think she's great. I think it's fantastic, and I hope they've done it in such a way that they give it some legs for another year. I mean, who knows what will happen in the final episode? But I really hope. Maybe change the title and then do it. But
Well, so you can move to West Town.
yeah, exactly. Just something. Maybe should become the mayor.
Yeah, run for the mayor.
Yeah. But yeah, that was that.
It's a great show.
That was a great show that I very much enjoyed this month.
3D Blu-ray bunker. I remember Phil sketching Kate in an old AV forum.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's right. I'd forgotten all about
you
that.
dropped yourself into Titanic, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to go and find that video now. I don't even know where it is. Yeah, thanks for that memory. That's right, Steve. What are you watching?
Well, I'm watching the Mayor of Easttown. Sorry, not the Mayor of Easttown. But I've also I watched and thoroughly enjoyed the Nevers. I keep saying the Nethers, but it's the Nevers with a V, not a TH. Which was conceived by or created by, written, directed, produced by Joss Whedon, but you wouldn't know it because he's fallen out of
removed.
favor.
Yeah,
He has been deleted.
But I did enjoy it, although episode 6 takes a massive left turn that I wasn't expecting. Does explain things, but I thought, watching it, I was like, what the hell is going on here? But I believe they've shot the next 6, so it's been broken into 2 halves, the first season, so there's more to come. But it's it's basically set in Victorian England, and a bunch of mainly women, but not always, also some men, suddenly develop various superpowers or unusual powers.
It never happens to me. It's very disappointing.
And it's good. And it looks great. It's got some interesting ideas and some nice plot twists. And so where it ends, episode 6 sets up the next half of the season, and certainly it's going in an interesting direction. So we'll see.
I think I'm going to wait for the next load to drop before I go down that rabbit hole.
It's kind of risky though, doing that even with a Sky subscription, because they tend to disappear quite quickly on Atlantic and now.
Yes, this is true. I'm just not. Yeah,
Isn't it? It's on HBO Max though, isn't it? So you just watch on that.
Yes, that is the alternative. The powers of VPN.
Okay.
But yes, I think I'm gonna give it a little bit. I've got a billion other things to watch, but I have heard interesting things. I just didn't know whether Whedon was a selling point or not at this stage.
Well, he's not really involved anymore. I mean, he obviously conceived and created it, and he's executive producer, and he wrote and directed the first episode and directed 2 other episodes, but it's got a completely new showrunner now. So he's out. He left it due to, even though it was like his entire project, he conceived the whole thing. He left due to being a bit tired.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone called him a bully on set. Not on the Nevers, in fairness, but in past productions.
Yes.
Can I just point out, Ed is not blue, and I'm certainly not that red. I've been noticing my camera all night.
I have to say,
Ed looks like he's had a dye job.
Been remastered by Kino.
I have to say, I was on a different on a non-podcast Zoom conversation the other night. I looked like a sentient ham. It was absolutely brutal. The webcam on this current Lenovo ThinkPad is exactly the same as the one on my last one, but it has a different color sensor, and it gets so confused so quickly. I turn all sorts of colors. Right, very quickly, I have actually watched a television program. Actually, I watched 2. I'd like to give a quick nod. I did enjoy this second burst of Love, Death and Robots. They weren't all good. Some of them were rather better than others.
I enjoyed that too.
Yeah, that was good. That was good fun. Yeah,
but nevertheless, I thought it's well worth some time, and they're so easy to watch because they're very short. And then on Now TV, if you have enjoyed the previous 9 or 8 seasons, Car SOS. I love that program.
I love it
unconditionally. And
the only thing about it is it always gets you in the feels.
Oh God!
You've got to be prepared.
There was another episode this season. I won't say which one, where the owner of the car didn't make it to the point where the car was completed. And what's refreshing, although still gut-wrenching, is that the palpable sadness in terms of the people who have worked on the car, not just the presenters, the rest of the team, It's not staged. They're gutted.
No,
They
it's
didn't get it
genuine.
done
It's
in
absolutely
time.
genuine. That's why I like that, because Fuzz and they're down to earth car enthusiasts at the end of
Yeah.
the day. They're not bigging themselves up in any way. It's not about them. It's about the car, and it's about the people that they're trying to improve the car for. And I've never found it over the top or look at us, look how great we are.
No. It's it's on Now TV at the moment. Previous seasons, if you are a Disney subscriber, most of the previous episodes are now available on Star. If you're not a Now TV subscriber,
I'm feeling everything's on Star these days.
This is the thing. I have to say, it's the streaming service putting the most legwork in for me. I've said that a couple of times now.
I watch National Geographic on Sky, and about every advert break, they'll tell you what's on Disney Plus. You can watch the full season of this on Disney Plus. So you've got to wonder how long they're going to stick around on platforms like Sky.
Yeah.
If everything's
Well, they aren't, are they? They've already started shifting stuff across. The new series are coming to Disney Plus rather than or Star rather than Sky.
So, but nevertheless, I mean, however you choose to watch it, if you are looking for some up-to-date television, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, if you just enjoy watching people putting together complicated, and often it must be said, some of the times the cars that they receive on that program, under normal circumstances, you would never choose to restore those ones. So some of the restorative work they do is above and beyond. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's as Phil says, it's often quite emotive viewing, but it is consistently enjoyable viewing. So I thought it was worth a mention, because I've too enjoyed Air Crash Investigation, but I wasn't just going to repeat the same things. So
I will quickly mention. Sorry, someone's pointed it out. Who was it? Craig Sauber again. Star Wars: The Bad Batch. I'm also enjoying.
I haven't started that yet.
And someone's mentioned Stevie DR mentioned Amazon's new series, The Underground Railroad. I haven't watched that, and for the same reason that I haven't watched them. I can only take so much savage racism in having already sat through Watchmen and
I watched them, and I can't do this.
Country.
I can't do it.
It's just becoming a bit. You start seeing it becomes a bit overwhelming.
I think Tom was down to review it, and he said last week? Tom was.
He's not gonna do it unless he can watch it the whole thing.
Which is fair enough.
No, it's if you're dealing with television, which is pulling away at lots and lots of contentious concepts, it's not the same as sitting down to watch a made for Netflix movie where you can just go, I've watched it and it's crap. So but nevertheless, lots of people have said Underground Railroad is extremely good, and I'm sure in the next 10 to 15 years I'll get around to it. So
I meant to ask Steve, does this MGM thing mean Bond?
New Bond.
Yeah, is it going to affect that at all?
No, apparently it's still getting a cinema release.
Well, that's what they say, but 8.5 billion.
I don't know how much pull Eon's got. I mean, they produced the films. I don't understand.
That's a good question, Cos.
I just wondered. Yeah.
And Eon or MGM UA and Eon produced the films, and then in this particular instance, Universal is distributing it. So I guess they got a contract with Universal to distribute it, so they probably can't just pull out of that.
Just seems like a lot of money to
what
leeway on
is a back catalogue, and they don't have one, and that's given them an instant back catalogue.
Right, it's 4,000 titles, isn't it? So
that's why they've done it, not just for one Bond movie.
Yes,
but I'm annoyed because I mean, if I could watch it in my home cinema rather than having to schlep down to the flicks in the pouring rain to sit in a cinema full of diseased people, I'd take the former option.
and you're not just talking about the pandemic, you're talking about
normal take that. I mean, come on. I mean, you can sit on your bum and go for a wee when you need to and have a cup of tea and a biscuit.
You're just at that age, Steve. That's
I am. I'm at that age where sitting through 2.5 or 3 hours without going for a slash is bloody difficult.
You are at least honest, Steve.
Right, and on that bombshell, that's it for this week. So podcast competition time.
Yes, we can have that. You win a copy of Mandy on limited edition Blu-ray. Just use the following question to select the correct answer from the competitions page, because
beginning to think people are deliberately selecting the wrong
89% of people have selected the wrong answer so far. 89%. It's the highest I've got so far, and it's simple. Who co-stars with Nicolas Cage and Mandy? And the answer is not Nicolas Cage.
Hang
So-
on. So who plays
Nicolas
Nicolas,
Cage
you mean?
wanted it to be Nicolas Cage.
It's neither Nicolas Cage nor the director, if that helps with you in picking the correct answer. But yeah, go.
Okay, well, that's it for the podcast this week. My thanks to Ed Selley,
Does anyone want anything from the shop?
Steve Withers,
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
and Kaz Harlow.
Cafe Olay.
If you enjoyed the podcast, then please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Plus, you can hit the notification bell to be told every time we upload new video content. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. You can bookmark avforums.com for latest reviews, news, and videos. Plus, why not leave us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider if they allow it? Then please rate the show. I'm Phil Hinton. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And you can join the movies team next week.